Hello, it is I, Dev for Hire, and today I will be doing a tutorial on how to create your own stylistic trees on Roblox. Now, many of you guys have been asking for this for a really long time, and well, the reason why I haven't been able to necessarily do tutorials like this is, well, I've just had not much time, but I've recently found the time to do some tutorials, and I really thought it would be great to show you guys how to do this, so let's get started. Now, when starting out, you want to make sure that you have Blender open and you just have a general, just a general file that's just open. It's just empty, there's not really much to see here. So the first thing you necessarily want to do is you want to insert a plane, just a flat plane. And what you want to do is you want to create just some 3 variations over here. As you can see, there's 3 variations of small little, how do I say this, bush circles, whatever they are. They're like these little scrunch balls. Yeah, scrunch balls. Let's call them scrunch balls. So what I suggest is taking your planes and rotating them around randomly until you have 3 different variations of these scrunch balls. Now, these are really important because what you're going to do with these is you're going to build a nest. Yeah, you heard me. You're going to build a nest. We are going to be a bird today. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a nest sort of like this. Yes, like this. What you want to do is you want to get those scrunch balls and you want to form it into this giant nest shape. And I want you guys to keep in mind that the nest shape must be hollow. Just ensure that the nest shape is hollow because this is really important. Because this is what's going to give the cool effect that you guys see on my trees and what I do with my foliage. So, sorry about that. I had some technical issues. Anyway, back to the video. So once you've built this nest with a bunch of planes, what you want to do is you just want to group it. You want to make sure it's all grouped up together and just ensure that it's all nicely tucked. So, now after the creation of your nest, now you want to move on to having to import the nest into Roblox Studio. Now, I'm sure many of you guys are asking, whoa, wait, Dev, what about the texturing? How is the texturing going to work? Aren't you supposed to set up a UV map? Where's the UV map? You're supposed to set up a UV map. Blender just, it just doesn't work like this. You don't just import something into Roblox straight away from Blender and then it just magically puts on the texture and everything. Well, you guys need to keep in mind, when you use textures in Blender with planes, your texture will automatically attach onto that plane. So any texture that you create will automatically attach onto that plane. So you don't have to worry about any sort of UV work. If I were to be honest myself, if we had to do UV work on this giant ball, it would kind of be messy. But I mean, you could do a UV map because it is just a bunch of planes at the end of the day. But usually the texture would automatically attach on in Roblox. So there's literally no problem here. So don't worry about UV maps. Okay, so now we have our mesh imported straight into Roblox. Now, you guys need to keep in mind, it is missing textures, of course. So, what we're going to do is, we are going to open up our editor where we usually, edit stuff and where our texture is going to be from. So, when having to add foliage texturing, what you guys want to do is you guys want to have a mesh texture that kind of looks like this. This is what the texture looks like on the foliage, right? So let's just choose a color here. This one works. Okay, cool. We'll choose this green. Now, after we've chosen this green and all that sort of stuff, what we want to do is we want to go back into Studio, and what we want to do is we want to insert a texture onto the mesh in Studio. So we're just going to quickly insert that onto the mesh. Okay, cool. Now we have our mesh on top of our texture. So, now we need to upload our leaf texture, our leaf foliage texture. Okay, now it is uploaded. Now that we have our leaf texture on the mesh, we need to set it so that it has some transparency to it, so it can be completely transparent instead of just having this white all over the place. Now we actually have our texture on now, but you'll probably notice it doesn't look necessarily very good. Once we've applied this texture, it'll have some black lines, right? These annoying black lines that go over the texture. Well, believe it or not, there is a way to get rid of this. Now, what you want to do is you actually want to go back to your editor. Now you want to go back to your actual leaf texture, and what you want to do is you would actually want to have to blur the texture. Just blur the texture. That's all you want to do. Just blur the texture. And what this is going to do is it's going to add fuzziness to your texture. It's going to add fuzziness to your foliage as a whole, and it's going to look really fuzzy. And it's going to improve your foliage as a whole. This is genuinely the secret to maintaining that your foliage is really, really soft and looks really fluffy and light. So ensure that you always blur your textures when you're making any sort of foliage in general. It just makes it more fluffier and more softer. Now that we have some soft, fluffy foliage, as you can see, it's not exactly like, the foliage that you've seen me post before. And it's obviously because it's missing a few steps. So now we're in the last remaining steps now. So what you want to do is you want to go to the material of the foliage. And what you want to do is you want to change the material from plastic to force field. Now, the force field characteristics are really unique. It's a very unique material, and it enables you to get away with all sorts of things on Roblox. But as you could see, it makes the foliage even more fluffier and more, you could see the leaves on the interior as well at some angles, and it helps. It helps a lot. So what this is going to do is it just gives our foliage some depth. Now, this is one of also the key secrets to how the foliage looks so great at so many angles, especially with the sun. But yeah, this is one of the key main components that is going to make your foliage pop out really well. The last stage you need to do is lighting. Lighting. You can make the best looking foliage in the world. However, if there's no bright colorful lighting to go along with it, it just will not really look good in that world. It just needs some really, really good lighting. Lighting carries at least maybe 80% of all the work of how the stylistic foliage looks. If you have very bad lighting, it just will not work. So just ensure that you have some really good lighting. So I'm going to insert my own lighting over here, and boom. There we go. There's my own lighting. Now we can just move on to having to maybe just mess around with the foliage. Now let's get our tree trunk over here. There we go. Now we could just insert the foliage onto the tree trunk. And wow, look at that. That looks great. You see, now what you do is you want to pile it on top over and over and over again. And this will just be your foliage tree. This is what your tree is going to look like. And this is just how I layer my foliage on top of a tree. You guys may do yours differently, but all that matters is that you have better looking foliage. So yeah, this is how I did my foliage. Now, before we end off this video, I just want you guys to keep in mind that everybody else's foliage may look slightly different or just completely different. Your foliage style may vary depending on your lighting and your texture and the way you did it and what specific order. So everyone's foliage isn't gonna look the same, so I don't expect this video to be a direct answer to what everyone is trying to mimic and replicate, but surely these are some things that can probably help you. But it was really a blast doing this, so I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys want more tutorials like this, let me know. But yeah, peace out guys. I'll see you guys later.